I
I had to unmute you first before you said anything. Hello, Ashok.
hello. Now I'm unmuted.
Yes, you are. And as usual, if you're a regular viewer with us, Ashok was doing what he normally does when the music starts, which is dance in the backstage. Uh,
And this time around, I was like wondering which music was going to come around
oh,
because
okay.
last week, right,
What happened?
somebody who's not here
Uh-huh.
accidentally pressed the wrong button with the right
Oh,
music for me.
oh, okay.
But
Uh-huh.
you won't
Now
tell
I
that somebody.
understand. Okay, yeah. I won't, but I think we can figure out what it is.
Yeah.
Inside joke. So the somebody that we're talking about is our co-host Muller, who's not on this week, and is with it. This week is Ashok and myself. And we've got the pleasure of speaking to a powerhouse. I used that word before she joined us backstage, and she herself used the word when we were, warming up back before we started. But Ashok, before we go on, let's do your spiel about leadership in Flow
Leadership Flow
Asia.
Asia. All right. Thank you very much for that, Sham. Okay. So, for everyone who is locked in here and wondering what this show is all about, this is Leadership in Flow Asia Season 3. We started this in 2022 where we said, hey, you know what? Let's have conversations with leaders within Asia. And we started discovering interesting things about them. They were quiet leaders and impactful. And as we started delving deeper into conversations with them, we started discovering that there are three main areas they look at for growth. One is personal growth,
Mm,
leadership growth, and business growth itself. And it's been very interesting to get a lot of insights from these leaders who do
mm.
things slightly differently because they're very introspective and they're very impactful in their own way. So that
Yes.
is what Leadership in Flow Asia is all about. And there's Sham, Muller, and myself who co-host these shows with beautiful leaders,
Yep.
power pack leaders.
Power pack leaders, right? And I know I do this every week. I'm going to do it as well, or whenever I'm here. That idea of the quiet leader is introspection,
Mm,
introspective, self-aware about things that they need to do, right? Um,
exactly.
and the reason I'm saying it is because the leader that we're going to bring out is not quiet in a verbal way. She is a powerhouse. So I'm going to bring Kim to the stage and welcome her. But before that, let me put myself in my rightful position and add Kim here and push this one over the other
Hello,
side.
Kim.
Hello, Asha. Me.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, and thank you for saying yes to me. And yeah, to me, because I was the one who asked, and I asked because I belong to Kim's community of
Nice.
women leaders, right? But we'll talk a little bit about that
Mm.
as we go along. Now, before I let Ashok ask the first question. Why are you called Mama Bear, Kim?
Well, I guess I give very, very good hugs to start with.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And being the founder of the community, almost everybody I know pretty much every one of our member. We've got
Mm,
400 that came through, but at least 200 of them I know them personally quite well.
Wow.
mm.
And my door is always open whenever they have a question about personal or professional. So hence, somebody somewhere sometimes ago started calling me Mama Bear, and that kind of has stuck with the community.
Ah, there you go. So,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, as an introduction to Kim, um, some of you may have seen my post this afternoon. Single mother of two, whom first job was as a receptionist, and she will share this with us. I'm sure in the stories that she's going to share with us. Who had the blessing of a mentor who said, you know what, Kim, you need to go study, and sponsored her studies and gave her that pathway to take on roles that eventually led to regional leadership roles. And Kim comes in a strong background of sales and marketing, not just in Singapore, but around the region. And at some point, just before COVID, sometime in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, Kim, you left the you left the corporate world and
Correct.
you moved into setting up She Brilliance, right? This community of women leaders that you have built in Singapore. And on that note, I'm going to pass on to Ashok to start the ball rolling.
Thank you very much, Sham. Though you said I'll ask the first question, which is actually second now since you asked her about Mama Bear. Okay, Kim, thank you very much for saying yes to Sham. She reminded us is to Sham the community. Yeah,
You can never say no to her.
exactly right. We can never say no to her.
Yeah.
It is very interesting when we had our pre-show and you were talking a lot about brand visibility, and I love that, and we're going to go deep dive into that today. And what I'd really love to hear from you is how would you, Kim, describe your brand? What is
I
your
gave
brand?
a thought about that. Simply put, I'm really today, of course, forget about the last 30 years in corporate. Today, I call myself a very simple community builder. And my primary focus is powering the leader in people, particularly women. So that's what I like to be known for. And that's what I have been focusing on.
So what you're saying is you're a community builder. I like that. And you like to build the leadership in women, the power leaders in women.
I call it, what I do is I really help powering the leader in people. That means the leader in these people that come to you.
Nice.
So
that would be your brand promise, I believe.
Correct. That's right.
Right? Powering the leader in people. That's nice. Wow. And what got you to this journey itself? As in, why did you feel it is important to power up the leadership in people?
I realized that hence we talk a lot about brand and visibility. Through the years, I realized that a lot of people are very uncomfortable when you ask them about what's their brand. They kind of like, what do you mean? That was the first thing that they say. I say, you as a person, what's your brand? And they say, oh, I represent this company. I do this. This is always about somebody else or something else. It's never about themselves. In particularly, again, about women. They are so uncomfortable to come up to the front and say, to basically share who they are. Then that's kind of like through the years, I feel that if women have more visibility, they will be able to achieve a lot more. They are talented women. I always say there's no lack of talented women, but there's definitely a lack of women with less confidence, hence less visible.
Right. You said you have asked this question for many people. Would that also be men?
Yes, men as well.
Men as well.
Men as well.
And do you find that they also get lost? Do they get lost about how to define their brand?
I won't call them they get lost, but unconsciously they brand themselves something else. I'll give you an example. I run public speaking workshop recently for a group of consultants, and these consultants are client-facing consultants. Right. When I ask them what's their brand, so they talk about their company, basically gave me their CV, which I'm really not interested. I don't care about your title and your credential. But in their mind, he said, this is very important for my client, for my high net worth client. I said, okay, but what about you? Who are you to them? Because you ultimately got to service this customer. And the answer they gave me was, oh, we work through a third party. That means there's a banker that brings me in to see the buyer. So the banker represents me. The banker knows about me. I don't have to find my own branding. Wow, that is scary. I thought that was scary. I mean, of course, the CEO was sitting there and said, yeah, this was exactly the reason I brought you in. Because that is the challenge that the organization are facing. People are hiding behind brand and product. So the only thing they know how to say is about the brand and product. They forget about themselves. And this applies to men as well. Men in the business for many years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is it because they are uncomfortable or they're not clear about their brand? What do you think it is? For this
particular case, I think they're unconscious.
Unconscious.
They're unconscious. They don't see brand as something that they need to build. When you talk about brand, they don't see that it's a brand I don't need to build my brand. If I already represent a very reputable organization, that is my brand. So
Okay.
with that, so they hide behind the brand basically, but unconsciously they are doing that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. They're unconscious. Huh? So,
Yeah.
why do you feel that men and women feel uncomfortable with brand visibility?
Well, one thing you can look at, I mean, of course, a lot of it, I won't say all of it, but a big chunk of it is because of cultural differences. Think about Asians, right?
Okay.
Majority of us, my age, and anybody that's close to me, in Asia, we were raised not to talk about ourselves because that can be seen as arrogant and self-promoting, right? Of course, these days things are changed. With the influencer, the self-promotion becomes a big thing. It's just noise, right? Noise about building their brand, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, it doesn't matter. They just want to have noise. Yeah. So that could be one of the reason. And the second reason is like what I said earlier on. People are just unconscious. People are unconscious.
Ashok, can
Wow.
I
Sure, sure.
interject?
Please.
When were you, I want to go back a little bit more in time, right? And for you, was there a time that you were invisible brand wise, and at what point did that shift? At what point did you say, I need to be more visible, right?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that, because you're very passionate about being visible, the
Right.
visibility, right? And you're very passionate for the women, but I want to go back a little bit in terms of your awareness and your thinking about it.
That's a very, very good question. Actually, I was very unconscious about it for most of my corporate life, most of my corporate year. So in early years, when I was a receptionist and starting to grow from there, I always tell myself, pat myself on the shoulder once in a while, because of my curiosity. I was always very curious about what's happening in the organization. Well, to the extent that some friends of mine call me, "Why are you so nosy?" I said, "Well, I'm just interested." You look at it from a positive. I'm more interested to understand how the company is run. Being a young person, I have nothing to lose. The more I know, the more I gain. So I realized through the years, part of my curiosity starts to build visibility of me being someone who is willing to help, willing to support, willing to learn. With that, I think that's also part of the reason why my mentor of almost 30 years saw the potential in me, hence pushing me to go back to school so that I can actually build something with the right credential and I can actually grow in corporate. So it helps. So I think it took me about 10 years when the first time I felt that I was visible was when the first time I was headhunted. I was like, wow, I've never put myself out there. All I've done is work very hard in the food service industry. Whatever I've built, I was unconscious about it. But it was the first time when the headhunter came to me. That was when I started to realize I actually have built something for myself. I was visible in some way. And then, of course, following the next 3 jobs, big jobs, were all headhunted. I've applied, I've shared before, right? Whoopsie.
Biscuit.
I've never applied for a job because I didn't have a qualification, but towards the end, it was because of my visibility, the reputation that I've built in the industry that has gained me a lot of recognition. So it's much later.
And so yeah, biscuit recognized when you were getting recognized as well.
Yeah.
So everyone, Biscuit is Kim's 2.5-year-old. What was it? Maltese
Multiple.
Multi-pool. Okay, multi-pool pet. Now, when you realized that you had visibility, how did it shift your thinking, and how did it shift your thinking about?
I become more conscious. Actually, there's good and bad about it. Becoming conscious that you have a brand, you are visible. You have to somehow, in a certain circumstances, you have to behave slightly differently in order to make sure that you don't overstretch your brand.
Okay, tell us more.
Like I talk about, when you become more visible, when you become known,
Mm.
if you're not careful, you're right on the edge of becoming more arrogant,
Mm.
right? Building a
Mm.
reputation in an industry, I know I'm good, right? My last corporations job, like I say, globally, we have 12 regions. I was the only female owning one of the region, responsible for the business and P&L and everything else. I have a lot to be proud of, right? But that also gives me a lot of visibility in the industry, a lot of power, you know. If I'm not careful, I can be seen as arrogant. So that is something that I have to be conscious about.
Mm. Got it. Okay. Okay.
It's interesting, Kim, because I'm following your journey
Mm,
where you were also not conscious initially
mm,
that there was a brand. And
yeah.
then you were curious, and your curiosity led you to become very helpful,
Mm,
solving problems, I'm assuming.
mm,
And that's how people noticed you, or your mentor noticed you in that sense, and you became visible,
mm.
right? And I like the
That's
fact that you said that as your visibility grows, your reputation also grows,
mm,
right?
yes.
And then you started realizing that you have to make sure that you don't go into the arrogance part of it. How did that realization come in? Was there an experience that made you go like, oh, done, okay, I should not do this anymore?
There was one, but it was not anything that I won't call it negative in any way, but it's just the way how people perceive me.
Mm.
We were running our Indian operations. Indian operation was losing money for 10 years. For 10 years. So when I took over, it took me a year to study what was going on. Somewhere in the second year, I fired 80% of our people. Right? So I did that for the business reason. Also, I realized that we have a lot of cruiser in the organization. How can a GM run a business that is negative, P&L, and still be very
Mm.
comfortable about it? So I took that decision, and months later, the reputation I gained was, oh, Kim, you are known for firing people you don't like.
Right.
So it becomes personal, becomes a women thing, right?
Mm.
Women are very sensitive, they hang out with people they know. So that becomes a gender issue. In the vineyard, people are talking about it. So when this person said that in front of me, I gave him a very simple answer. No, I fire incapable people.
Hmm.
I
Mm.
say it breaks my heart that I also have to fire good people because the business cannot hold them anymore.
Mm.
A good example is shared services like marketing, right?
Hmm.
Marketing, I have to let her go. We took everything back into Singapore, consolidate, and make it out of Asia Pacific. But for her, I work with her closely, and today she's a very successful solopreneur. She has her own business. Whoever that I let go that were good, I continue to work with them to find
Mm.
them, find a new space, find their new direction. So, but this is the things that people don't see. People do not see, right? But
Yep.
what they see is what's happening in front. Being
Mm.
a leader is about decision making. It's tough decision. If a male leader had made that decision, the whole
Mm.
approach will not be the same. I have never
The
allowed gender differences affect me. It did
mm.
not, kind of like a light bulb moment for me, but it has never affected me.
Hmm. That's interesting when you talk about the perception, right? So it was a perception that you needed to fight because they
Yeah,
said, "Oh, Kim being a female, she's making these decisions, from a female perspective, and whether it's emotionally back or whatever,
yeah, correct.
And that's when you realize, okay, you got to temper perception and make sure that you don't come across as arrogant.
Correct. That's
But
right.
but but why? I mean, why does that should that even bother you? I mean, what made you think like, okay, I have to temper this? I'm curious.
Well, it didn't really bother me. It kind of
Hmm.
like it lasted 30 minutes. But it
Okay.
was a light bulb moment, right? It was
Hmm.
kind of like an awareness. It's like, oh, so this is accept because, like as I say, I have never allowed gender differences affect my career.
Ah.
I
Mm.
pursue what I pursue. I did what needs to be done to get where I am. That has never in my radar because my mentor is a man. My mentor is a man. He guide me, not looking at me as a woman. He
Sure.
guide me as my talent and everything else. So I've always been that way. So when I talk about what I need to be conscious about is that I guess it's not about conscious, but more about being aware.
Mm,
Being more aware of some people will view you very differently. So how do I manage that?
right.
In a good way, how do I manage situations and people? In a bad way, how do I manipulate them to be on my side? So if you think about corporate, right? But it's about managing people's expectation, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting. I like how you went through your thought process. Within 30 minutes, you got it clear and said, okay, what is important in the long term? So you made a decision in that way. You said,
Yeah.
okay, there are certain perceptions and how do you need to manage certain type of perceptions along the
Exactly.
way. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So that was a decision-making process there. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you very much. Sham, you have a question before I throw in the next one?
No, not a question, but what you have shared with us, Kim, is very interesting. It's a, a brilliant example of what we call when power or skill. So in this case, visibility, right? When visibility is underplayed or visibility is overplayed,
Right.
right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
You know, when it's underplayed, you lose out because you are not seen. You are the quiet achiever. You
Mm,
do stuff and you assume that your performance should speak for itself, right?
Okay.
At this on the other side, conversely, when it is overplayed, it can come across being seen as arrogance,
yep.
right? Or throwing your weight around because you are either because you are the favorite or you have been given the authority to make those kinds of decisions, and therefore you make those decisions, right? And you're using power to do it. So it's very nuanced, right? It's how people see it. It's also dependent on how the experience that they're going through, the event that they're going through, and how they interpret it as well, right? So
Yeah.
you just kind of put that into perspective. There's like, it's neither good nor bad. It really depends
Yeah.
on how it's played, right?
Right.
How it comes out, how it's experienced, that people that you take interpretation out of that event or
Exactly.
that's
Having power is great. How do you
mm,
use power for positively or negatively? Like,
mm,
power is
mm,
not wrong to gain power. It's how you
mm.
use it, how you apply it makes a difference.
Yep, exactly. And the same thing with visibility, right? Someone can say, you're very low key, or or he or she is always in your face. Everywhere you turn, it's something about that person there being overplayed. So it's about balance at the
Yeah,
end of it. Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Correct. Mm.
Before we go on, I thought we'll say hi to people who have said hi to us. So Ashraf, hello again, welcome. I'm glad you're joining us for this week as well. Please ask your questions and join us in the conversation. The other is Rajakumar. Hi everyone. He says hi all. Hi back to you. And we also have our co-host Muller. All right, and she says because yeah, this is a dig at me. Okay, I can hear and see you go, Ashok Menon. Okay. Right.
Okay. I'm done for.
Visibility.
Visibility.
Yes, visibility. Okay, so back to Kim, your journey. Now
Mm,
you said that you were you shared the example where you had to take on that Indian operations and
mm,
you had to make some tough decisions, right?
mm,
And in our pre-meet, you were talking about how um, you have an eye on identifying quiet talent. You use the
mm.
word quiet talent,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that some of the people that you let go were not necessarily the ones who are the people that you let go were the people who were visible actually, whereas the people that you kept tended to be not the people who are visible. So it's kind of like a counterintuitive to what you're saying, right? Or what
Yeah.
we've been talking about so far. So
Yeah.
yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
When we talk about quiet talents, we have a tendency, these are the talents that have the tendency to do all the work, but almost never talk about their achievements.
Mm,
Often they think, like what you said earlier on, often they think, if I work hard enough, someday someone will discover me. Unfortunately,
mm,
that's not true, right? Visibility, hence I talk a lot about visibility. I'm very aware of these people. Hence, I'm always looking beyond the faces and the noises that are in front of me. I get that a lot, right? People who want to impress, people want to tell you how good they are. So I look beyond that. I look who is sitting at the corner. What are they doing? I've noticed, uh, 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 my biggest observation is always looking for people with the right and positive attitude. They may be quiet, but the persona, their personality will shine once you start having conversation with them. I'm one that's always picking on people in a corner to have conversation rather than talking to the one that's constantly in my face. So with that, through some time, I can feel them better. I can understand a little bit more. And those are the people that I'm interested in. Because any organization, we cannot just have all the loudspeaker around. We need people who are really good at what they do, who are humble enough, because we are in the people business. We look for people like that. So through all these years, I've been very blessed to work with quite a few of these people. And I must say today, there were at least almost a dozen of them that I've made a difference, just like the way my mentor has made a difference in my life. Yeah. So it's attitude. Attitude. It's about the right attitude, being positive. And most importantly, they're very willing to learn regardless of circumstances.
Okay. So what you shared kind of brings me to She Brilliance, right? It's giving a voice or shining the light on a specific group of people. Was or how is that now shifted? So you're not in corporate anymore, and you're not working with the quiet talents in the corporate field. How does that come across, or how does that blossom? How does that show up in She Brilliance, and what the work that you do with the community?
Actually, there's a lot of similarity with corporate. With the community of the women that we have a lot of quiet talents who are very good at what they do. But when we come together in events and all that, they sit at the corner, be on their own, they're not shining. So what I've done since the very beginning, same behavior I've always have, is I identify women of such. I identify all our women are talented. I identify women that I know they can do more. And women through conversation, I know they want to do more. They just don't know how. Hence the reason why, if you think about, other than the inauguration, since then, all our event, whether it's our speaker or panelists or our MC, I make sure that I select them from within our organization. I won't say select. I recommend, I will invite them to be a part. Someone who has never been an MC, and I know they have the quality for that. I'll work with them to make it happen. Someone who are in corporate, holding great title, but have never been on the panel, have never been, like as you say, how can I shine lights on them? So for every one of our events now, since then, the panel, we try to, as much as we can, 90% of who we invite are all from the subject expert from our own community. So in a way, it's giving them the platform, to showcase who they are. Of course, there are many who say, oh, I don't want to be on there. But then sometimes I have to negotiate with them, because I have to tell them that I see the talent, right? And I would love to have, I would really appreciate the talent to be shared with our community. So that's how I encourage them to step up. Look at our community, yourself and many. Every one of them has something to give. Something, they're not fresh from school. Even from the fresh from school student, they have something to give. So that is exactly what I did in corporate. I'm doing it now with our community. And everybody knows I'm always talking about visibility. I'm always talking about, how can I make you visible? Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that, Kim. I'm going to be going a bit deeper into the quiet talent.
Okay.
I find this very, very interesting here, because what I've seen in corporates, even my time, and even when I have ongoing conversations, I don't know why people say this. They think it's a culture, but it's some belief that they hold. They always talk about, oh, you need to posture up to the leaders. to be visible,
Oh, I
especially
know
when
what
it
you mean.
comes, to performance appraisal time and all that.
Mm,
It's all about the posturing that is important. And for them, that is the brand visibility. Now,
yeah.
the quiet talents, they love to do their work. And I'm making an assumption here, I could be wrong.
Mm,
They don't like that posturing kind of activity.
correct.
Maybe it doesn't sit down with their value
Yeah.
because they love to deliver the work, the impact. They enjoy that. And that's why I say when you sit down with them in a quiet corner, they energize you because they talk about things that matter.
Correct.
Now, how do you then get into the space where you encourage them or influence them positively? Because you got the power. Remember, you said with
Mm,
power, you can do things positively, right? So now,
right.
how do you now influence positively a person who wants to impact the work, contribute, but not so comfortable about posturing? How do you
Mm,
now get them to build that brand visibility?
okay. So a lot of work I do as a coach, as well as working with people,
Mhm.
it's really the importance of helping them with a mindset shift. Having conversation with someone who's sitting in a corner with all the talent and everything else, how do I bring them out? First thing they say is, I don't want to be out there. So I'll give you a very simple example of entrepreneur that I work with. Right. First thing they say is, first thing I ask is, okay, how is your social media? How is your brand? They say, what do you mean? I said, I don't like social media. I don't post anything on Facebook. I don't even have LinkedIn. So my answer straight away, I said, then why are you in business? Why are you in business when nobody can see you, nobody can hear you? How can anybody buy you or your product or services?
Mm.
So it's very much the same thing. Like the talent that you have, they are amazing people with lots of expertise in what they do. I say you can be as good as you want, but if you close behind that door, nobody's going to know how good you are. And why don't you take advantage of what you already know, share with a small group of people since you're uncomfortable, so that people know that when they are looking at subject expert, they know where to find you. So it's about getting them to feel that, oh, I actually should be sharing my knowledge
Right.
instead of just hugging on my knowledge and just, I say, I don't care how good you are. If you stay inside the room, nobody's going to know how good you are. So when you start to work with them and then start to kind of in many cases, I kind of nudge them and open doors and literally push them on the stage.
Right.
Not literally shove them
Yep.
there, but
Yep.
in many ways I do that.
Mm.
Get them to be a part of networking event. And at the networking event, I know some people are constantly being very quiet. I will have to personally link them. I say, hey, Cindy, I would like you to talk to da 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 because this person is very interested in what you're doing. So after they've done it a few times, they start to realize that, hey, I am truly an expert in this subject. I'm now getting a little bit more comfortable to talk about it. So it's about getting them, peeling the onions a layer at a time. So that's what I do very often, in order to be able to encourage them to get out of their comfort.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from you is the way you help people reframe their thinking, right?
Yeah,
Is not to look at it as just posturing for the sake of posturing, but
correct.
shifting their mindset by saying, hey, you know what you're actually doing is you're adding value, you're actually sharing information. That means what you're doing is you're finding out their talent or what's really strong with them,
Mm,
right? And then making sure that they can leverage on it and how they
correct.
can help other people with it, right?
Correct. So
Nice, nice.
in the case of being visible with your senior, your supervisor and all that,
Mm.
the best way to is like, if you know what you do and if you know that whatever you're doing can move the needle for the company, won't it be
Ah,
something that you want to share with your supervisor or your bosses so
Mm.
that they can also suddenly have a light bulb moment? We already have the talent who can help us do that. So why do we need to go somewhere else looking for help all the time? So if you
got
don't
it.
share your talent and your expertise, most of the time people don't know.
Hmm. Okay, so what I'm hearing now again, another part is yes, another way to reframe it is how can you help the business? How can you add value to the business in that sense, whether towards
Yes,
a P&L efficiency, whichever it is, but with
correct.
your talent, how can you help? How can people be visible to your availability to make that difference?
Exactly. Think
Right?
beyond your role, your position. See, in New Age leadership, we don't just talk about ourselves. We talk about how can what I do help my team, and then the whole team can help the business. So that's how it actually flow. So thinking
You
wise, yeah. Sorry.
very interesting. You mentioned New Age leadership. Tell me, what do you mean by that?
New Age leadership is the last book that I published.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Tell me.
yeah,
What do you
correct.
mean by last book? How many books have you published now?
I only do 2.
Only 2. Oh, okay, so humble. I only do 2. Okay,
Only
tell
do
me more.
2. I'm working on my 3rd. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
So New Age leadership is where I felt that people truly needs to build the self-leadership foundation. Look within myself, have awareness, have self-discovery, fix me first, strengthen my foundation. Then I start looking out for the right people, the right squad that can support me, work with me for the organization. Once you have me and the team in the right space and place, automatically whatever we do is going to be beneficial for the company. We all know it. Asha, you and I come from we all come from corporate, right? Business strategy is either this way, that way. We flip left, we flip right, direct, indirect. It's there. What we shift is about what's happening, what's the trend in the market and all that. But the biggest challenge is people. So if you can get yourself in the right space and building the right team with the right strategy, the company automatically will grow.
Right.
Yeah. So
No,
that's my
definitely.
Yeah.
No, that's important. I like this New Age leadership. So what I'm
Yes.
hearing about New Age leadership is the way you have seen it is it's a lot of work on yourself.
Correct.
Get to know yourself first, because once when you have the clarity about who you are,
Yep.
right? I'm assuming it's your values, your your
Uh-huh,
purpose,
the
whatever
brand
you
as
bring,
well. Yes.
your brand as part of it. Then you'll be able to attract the right people to co-work with and co-create solutions with, in that sense.
Exactly.
Nice. Now, since we're on this topic of New Age leadership, I just want to go delve sideways, right? Still about New Age leadership.
Yeah.
We have heard a lot about work from home nowadays, hybrid work and all that.
Yeah.
And then there are talents who are now behind the screen doing the work, but they don't have the advantage of posturing in front of a leader like a peacock, right?
Correct.
How
Yes.
can they still build their brand visibility in a way that adds value to the organization?
Yeah. Correct. See, what's scary about what's happening with work from home is that many people has gotten so comfortable. They say as long as I can work from home, everything else doesn't matter. We are starting to experience that, whereby for the other side of the equation, I want to go back to the office. I want to have conversation with the boss. I want to be at every meeting. I want to do that. So then the question is that, what is it that you really want in terms of your career development? Working from home is not totally bad, but we have Zoom call. We can still connect. There are many ways to connect. I'm not asking you to cozy up to the bosses, but I'm asking you to check in with the bosses. Same thing for leaders. Leaders have to do exactly the same thing, even via Zoom or working from home. It is your job to hold your people together. It is your job to every now and then check in with your people, not just to find out the status of work, but how are people truly doing working from home? People who work from home, especially people who are caregiver to elderly, caregiver to the younger kids, how are they managing? How are they managing? Are they really able to do what they used to do, locking themselves in the office for 10 hours versus what they're doing at home? So again, it goes back to how can I shift the mental state of a leader from someone who is all about productivity to somebody who actually are emotionally connected with the people and has the empathy. This big word now has been going around to build that. Nowadays, leadership is no longer about what you can deliver. It's beyond that. It's also talking about how well you retain people, how well you develop people. So even though we are not in person, my encouragement to all organization is to never do 100% work from home. Even if they are doing that, bring them in, gather them. Doesn't have to be back in the office. Take a bunch of them, go down to a coffee house somewhere. That is exactly how I used to do. I
Right.
dislike having office meeting. I will take
Yeah.
everybody down to a lovely coffee house, and then we are more relaxed and we are more comfortable, and people are more willing to open.
Mm.
It's all about
Nice.
building that rapport and relationship beyond work.
Nice. So what I'm hearing is even when we are working from home, check in with your people. But what I found very interesting, Shamini, you're up next. I know you did your chin thing to get ready for Kristen. What I enjoyed about what you said, Kim, is you said check in with your bosses. More
Yeah.
often not, a lot of advice is given is bosses, please check in with your people.
Yeah.
But you said check in with your bosses. That was
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah. If you shine away from checking in with your boss, that means you don't have a relationship.
Mm,
So how do you build that? Your bosses are also human.
right.
It's not easy for them to work from home as well. They have families, right? So it's like the thing is the majority of people, employees, see their bosses on the pedestal. Somebody that, like a better word, somebody that doesn't have problem, everything is good, hunky-dory.
Mm.
But no, they're exactly like us. We all wear our trousers one leg at a time. Same. It's just that people don't do, you know. So how do you relate to that? It's about visibility, right? It's about how comfortable are you to have conversation with anyone, not just your
Right.
peers or people reporting to you. You have to get out there to talk so that you don't have to wait till performance appraisal time to cozy up to your boss if you
Mm.
already have visibility through the year.
Nice. So it's about visibility through connections and checking
Yes.
in. Nice.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and it's also about visibility. It's two ways, right? That it's you needing not visibility maybe, but the connection has to happen two ways. It's not just the leader with the team, but the team or the individual connecting with the leader. And you brought that into play. I want to go back to what you were talking about earlier on, peeling the onion layer by layer.
Mm,
And I want to put two things into place and ask you a question
mm,
around going back to specifically visibility, right?
mm.
Um, we had a few words coming up. We had visibility on the one hand. You also had posturing, cozying up, right? Standing out. I think Ashok said, strutting around like a peacock, right? And sometimes people feel very uncomfortable with these words because that's exactly what I do not want to happen. I do not want to be given those kinds of labels, right?
Yeah, correct.
Because sometimes to make us feel comfortable, we tend to use things like words like phrases like that to say that it's like a chichi. That's not a nice thing to do. That kind of a
Right.
thing, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got that, right? And you've got what you said. You want to peel it layer by layer. Let's look at visibility being a way of you to share your knowledge, to show
Mm-hmm.
people know, and
Yeah.
also to share because then everybody gains from it, right?
Yeah.
So then you said it's also then communicating the benefits of what you know to the success of the business or to
Correct.
the goals and the performance of the business, right? So the two things at play when you think about that, one is a values question, right? How do I see value in my work? The other
Mm-hmm.
is a skill. So let's go to the values part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I suspect, and I suspect because I feel sometimes I had that feeling that if you're so visible, it feels uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It feels uncomfortable. There's discomfort. I how does this not you know rub the wrong way with my values? So the question I'm asking is this essentially: how can I stay true to my values when
Mm-hmm.
I'm creating my brand visibility? Because I don't want to come across like him, her, whoever. I want to be real. I want to feel comfortable when I do this thing, right?
Right.
How do I do
Correct.
that? Yeah.
I mean, I like to, a simple, a given answer I always use that, is authenticity.
Hmm.
As long, the minute you try to build a brand visibility that's beyond your authenticity, it's fake. Simple question I ask is always check if everything you share publicly, is it true about you, or
Hmm.
is an ideal of who you like to be portrayed.
Hmm.
That makes a difference.
Hmm.
That's totally different. Because if you're trying to be someone, is that your value? It's not. It's the value you think other people would like to have, right? So
Right.
putting yourself out there is never easy and sometimes daunting. Hence the importance of staying true and be very focused and not trying to be all things to all people. Because, like, in generally, most people are trying to do that. That's why they are feeling a bit stressed and overwhelmed, because it's always about somebody else. What if the person doesn't like me? What if I'm being judged? So they're
Hmm.
trying to create this person that they think will bring value, rather than truly thinking about what is the true value,
Hmm.
what is the authenticity, what do you really value? Because there are many people out there that value certain thing, but because they want to be the general norm, that values get thrown out. They go with the flow.
Hmm.
They want to be a part. They want to belong, basically.
Yep.
So
Correct.
yeah, so, it's not easy to stick to your value, stick to your
Correct.
right, a voice
Correct.
for that, because not
Correct.
everybody is on your side. Yeah,
Exactly. Right. So
yeah,
that's the thing, right? Because it's like, I want to be real, but maybe people don't appreciate my point of view or my stand about a particular issue, because my stand is different from the norm. My
right,
stand is not, it's different from the majority. I have got a different take on it, right?
correct.
Malar and I were talking about the Will Smith issue earlier on this evening, and talking about that slap, right? If you go back to it, right? Was it wrong? Yes, it was wrong, right? Was he hijacked? Yes, he was hijacked, right? And everybody went for blood, basically.
Yeah,
Right? And then they went to Malala was sharing her point of view was that they went to, why hasn't he not said sorry? Why did he take so long to say sorry?
yeah,
Right? All right. So there are expectations of what is proper behavior. There's
hmm,
expectations of what is proper opinions. Uh,
correct.
there is expectations of what is authentic. And this is okay when you're like this. It's good. This is good, authentic. This is no lah. That's not
That's right.
really what it is, right?
Correct.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's that. How do you think about it? That's one. And is there a skill that we need to have to be able to discern?
When we
To
talk about, when you're having conversation with someone, how do you show authenticity? Somebody actually just recently brought up saying that it's very dangerous if you ask someone to be authentic. What
Hmm.
if that person have this giant size, huge personality and don't really care for anything, say whatever that's on their head, like someone we know? But how do you carefully manage this person?
Hmm.
So the conversation, if you already know this person has that authenticity in them, that means they will say whatever they like. It's about asking them, who are your audience? Do you think by being yourself, you are able to influence and convince the audience? If you
Hmm.
feel that you cannot, why are you doing what you do? You're just being hard-headed, right?
Hmm.
So every time when we talk about having conversation or being a presenter, it's not about me. It's about the audience.
Hmm.
Is this audience capable to accept, are open to see where I'm coming from?
Hmm.
If you don't know, if they do, wonderful. If they don't, you have to manage yourself and understand that my values is not their value. I have to accept the differences.
Hmm.
It boils down to what I call, are you your own CEO? I've got this, I love acronym. So my CEO is basically talking about, in every situation, do you have control? Are you in control?
Hmm.
If you are in control, what are you doing to make a difference? If you are not in control, and there are situations that we are not in control,
Yep.
do you know how to walk away and let it go?
Mm.
Majority of people don't know how to do that, hence they all get all twisted, and things start to blow out of proportion.
Mm.
So control is one thing. So it's the same thing as that. And when you stand up there having a conversation or presenting to anybody, what is your expectation? Do you expect everybody to agree with you? If you do that, I can tell you you're in for trouble, because people may not say it, but not everybody will agree with what you are thinking or your values.
Correct.
So you have to accept. Yeah. So it's about managing your expectation. I think it's Shakespeare who said that the biggest heartache in human being is expectation, right? Because something that we can't control, but then and yet we want the same result.
So much. Yeah, correct.
It's not happening. So in the
Yep.
event that you're not getting your way, are you going to sit there and sulk and overthink about how can I change the way I speak so that I can get them on my side? Are you overthinking about things that you have no control over? Right? Overthinking is about thinking about something that you have not taken action and you're still thinking about it. So stop doing that. So my thing's about, to be authentic, you got to ask yourself, can I manage this tree? You cannot say, I am authentic, so I want everybody to agree that this is my authenticity. No, nobody needs to agree in your authenticity. It's yours. You own that. You live by it in your own way.
Great. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you
That's
for
my
that.
answer.
No, it's an interesting way of thinking about it, right? Because that you live your authenticity, you don't have to apologize to anybody. Neither do you need approval from everyone, right? It is also a process that someone has to go through in order to be able to do that. You could say it's a process of growing up, but that's like a label that you want to put, right? It's like awareness, wear it, being comfortable in your skin, and maybe also building a bit of a thick skin, like if people disagree with you or people have a different point of opinion to you, some resilience around that bouncing off you rather than you absorbing it so much into your system, that it affects you. Over to you, Ashok. So the next question,
very interesting conversations around being authentic, and it's a balance, right? It's because it appears to me it seems to be like a struggle between authenticity and acceptance, and how do you find the balance in between in that sense? And I want to go back to not go back. I want to go forward to another area that we talked about in the pre-show about women empowering other women. Because that's what you are doing, right? That's what,
Tell me.
That's what you are doing and all. So help us understand, how do you influence successful women, right, to have passion for other women's growth? So again, for the sake of the audience, Kim did say that sometimes it's difficult to do this. Maybe you can tell us what you're seeing that is difficulty, and how do you then help influence the successful women to have passion?
All right. So while we do see more women stepping up to take on leadership role, but we are still not seeing enough women stepping out to advance other women, right? We see and hear them all the time at major conferences, panel sharing their successes, and they're up there sharing their success journey and all. But the concern I have is that it's always about them, right? They talk about them. They're not talking about anything else. Many people has heard me, She Billions Women and everybody else who have heard me before. I actually call them the goddesses of MNCs, right? But you put yourself on the pedestal. I'm gonna give you a name. Yeah, there we go. There we go into talking about how can we influence and make a difference to change that perception. Like coaching, you can't coach someone who is not ready or doesn't want to, right? So to motivate more women leaders to advance other women, I personally have to make sure that I walk the talk. If I'm going to advocate for this, I have to walk the talk. And I'm constantly sharing success stories in order to be able to influence them. But many times when I speak to women, I can sense the unset, Very often women will be asking things like, when they do say it, it's like, what is really in it for me for doing this? What's in it for me? I don't really have the time. So my simple question that I go back to them about mentoring is like, I say, all you need is an hour a month. You cannot craft it up. It's not about they don't have the time. It's about they're not ready to give. As simple as that. Unless, of course, you explain to them the visibility that it might, by doing this, what we're going to do for you, they might change. So it's easy for me to because it's easy for me to do what I do is because I understand the why. My why is very clear. Hence, I'm passionate in my action. And a lot of these women, they don't have a why. They're chasing, they have families, they have work. They don't have the why for doing good. They're not in that space yet, right?
Okay.
For someone to give, they must know if they're doing it for themselves or truly passionate to raise the next generation of women leaders. In other words, women can still advance other women for their personal gain. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Building their reputations and branding, and often not necessarily have the passion. That means they are very, very transactional. I've seen that everywhere, even at even at many women leadership platform and communities. People be a part of this simply for the brand, for the title, to be known that I'm actually advocating for women. Are they walking the talk? So I challenge that. All these reasons are the key reasons why I started She Brilliant, because I'm seeing this, a pretty fake understanding of what women is doing for women.
Ashok, can I ask a question?
Please.
Can I ask? Okay.
I'm still in a shock.
Welcome to Kim Underhill. What you see is what you get. Yes.
And spot on. Yeah, that's kind of my mantra as well. Why are you so concerned about wanting to build women or a path or a thinking or the passion for women to advance women? Why is that so important? I mean, men don't think about that. Men don't think about me having to advance other males, right? But for you feel that is a strategic move. It's almost like a strategy that this is the way we need to move, because then we multiply. Maybe the multiply effect is more.
Correct.
Why? Yeah.
I mean, for the longest time, for as long as we are aware, there's so much conversation about there's not enough women leaders. And there are also statistics that shows that women leaders do good for organization because of just the way they think differently, right? The way they organize, their structure, they think differently. So there's a lot of benefit in that. But in my personal reason why I'm so passionate about doing this, that they're just not enough. There are not enough women rising, despite the fact that there are women who are already there, who have already arrived, right? So what is the easiest way for a woman to get there is to be led by another woman who has gone through the difficult journey. And these are the people will be able to give you the classic example of how to fight the challenges the women are facing. It's not about gender, it's about many things else, right? It's about how can I be a better, because I'm a woman, I want to be a better women leader. Who better to guide me and mentor me than a women leader? I want to use them as an example. I want to hear the struggle. Many success women, they too have families. They too raise a family while they're raising their career. So I would love to hear from them. So the whole idea that their perspective is different in how they have make it for themselves. So hence the reason why I'm so passionate about getting more of these women to come and share, to truly share and take on one or two mentees to guide them along the way. It will definitely shorten the journey. Instead of young women trying to figure out, reading tons of books, there are books out there, but you need a real person who have been there to share the experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, and sometimes they may even say, are you sure you want to to climb that corporate ladder.
Hmm.
I don't see your personality can survive. You know, it's not easy.
Hmm.
It's not an easy place to be. So that's the reason why I'm very passionate, because I see the gap. As I said earlier on, I see the goddesses of MNC on stage, and I see 300 women sitting there. They came, they share powerful, all about them, and then they left. You left everybody else. If you're lucky, you pick up one or two things, a good takeaway that you apply. But then what's next? Wouldn't it be better if they actually come down, have a true conversation? It is so much more motivating for all the aspiring leaders. That's my
Nice. I like that. I like that. I like the fact that you're
Yeah,
saying
exactly.
don't just stand there and inspire people, but get down on the ground and walk the journey with them to see how they can also grow and find that
correct.
fulfillment in that journey.
Correct, I know. So, but then they have to be in the right space. They
Yeah.
have to be ready to give. If they're
Yeah.
not ready for that, then it doesn't matter. Yeah, then it's just
Okay.
everything is for show. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Kim. And I'm going to be asking. Oh, we already 1 hour. All right, 1 hour,
Oopsie.
2 minutes. I'm going to be asking you your 1 minute question. All right, let's go. I got a timer
Oh,
here somewhere, I think.
okay.
No, I don't. Okay. So, what advice would you have for women
Mm,
who are looking for their ikigai in a
mhm.
post-COVID world?
So we're talking about life purpose, right? We're talking about
Mhm.
the meaning. This brings me back to my close following of John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership. Have you read his book? Right? It's a very simple 5 step. Whether you look into the book or just look at the diagram, it tells you the difference. Life purpose. All the women who wants to chase that leadership, I always tell them, just look at this 5 level. You know, you work very hard. You finally got the position. People follow you for that. Level 2, people follow you because you start to build relationship. People start to like you. And level 3, people follow you because you are performing. Who doesn't want to follow a successful leader, right? So when it comes to level 4, which is a challenge, level 4 is when people follow you because you truly believe in developing people. That means you care to take them along, whether you're a coach, a mentor, or a sponsor. You care about the people and why people follow you. And level 5 is where the life purpose is, if you ask me. You know, it's about when you look at life of 5, it's like at a stage where people follow you because they respect who you have become and what you represent, right?
Hmm.
To me, that level 5 is not so much as I'm a legend, but it's more than what can I do to help as many individuals as I can for them to be able to see they are actually very powerful. There's a lot of power within them. How can I peel that and make a difference? And that's really my life purpose since I retired from corporate, to make a difference. I mean, simply put, at this stage of my life, I can actually take a back seat, travel more, and enjoy time with my family, especially my granddaughters. But I've chosen to keep busy, not for myself, but for more women to shine. Hence the reason, hence the tagline of She Brilliance, together we rise. And of course, bottom line is, somebody lent me a helping hand when I was a struggling young single mother. He changed my life by simply encouraging me and sponsoring me back to school for 6 years, as well as sponsored me with many, many job opportunity in the 10 years that I worked with him. So that is a very, very big, big, big thing for me. So it may sound cheesy, but my Ikigai is simply how I can pay forward. Paying forward is such an easy, it's been like kind of like, commercialized, but it's
Yeah.
truly how I can pay forward because somebody has given me that opportunity, you know. So hence, to me, working with people, growing leaders, building the power in them, it's not hard work. I'm truly enjoying the work I'm doing with individuals. So that's my Ikigai going forward.
Thank you very much for that, Kim.
I got
Thank you
tears
very
in
much.
my eyes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending the 1 hour with us, a little bit more than an hour with us, Kim, and also generosity of your wisdom
Thank
and
you.
your journey, right? through the years and the things that you've learned and you've also shared with other people. So thank you very much. I'm going to move you to the backstage as we close the show. And once again, got tears in my eyes. Okay. All right.
Before you do that, can I just have a short closing, just a few words for people who are listening in, right?
Sure.
My simple advice is be authentic, be true to yourself, be the change before change changes you, because nobody like that. Stop waiting for things to happen, and stop living somebody else's life. That's all. I'm closing. Thank you. Thanks so much, Ashok. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim.
Opportunity to share.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Bye,
you.
Kim. Good evening.
Goodbye.
Okay. Oops. Whoops.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was there we go. Oh my goodness, that was brilliant. And a generosity of sharing her wisdom. So much to take away. So much for me. I thought, the way Kim unfolded visibility, to get into different aspects of, personal leadership as well as leading as a leader, and also our role in giving back. And I think, it applies for everyone, regardless of gender, as she well said as well. So to me, I thought we peeled the layers of the onion.
Right.
Very, very nice. Yeah. And what was your... Yeah.
No. It was great hearing from her about brand visibility, the importance of it, because a lot of us are not conscious about it, but how also to do it by being true to your values, by being authentic in that sense. So I think that's an important takeaway. That all of us need to build that brand visibility is something that is a language we now got to take very seriously and consciously and start building it differently for ourselves. So yes, thank you for Kim.
Yep. And I think, our visibility belongs to us, and it is up to us to decide and take the right direction, or the proper direction, or the direction we want to, if we want to build it out.
Right.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Same time, same place next week. With obviously a different guest. Thank you, everyone. This is Leadership in Flow Asia. Good evening and
Season 3.
goodbye.
Bye-bye.